Time for a confession. I screwed up. As much as I hate to admit it, I got everything set up at, this is sort of what ride height would be. So you guys saw on the time lapse, I measured my wheelbase, and my wheelbase is at 123 inches. I don't know how I did that. I think, in hindsight, I think it's because I should have set up the front end first. I took 2 inches out of the lowers, 1.5 inches out of the uppers and the rear. I could maybe take maybe 1 inch out of the front end on the front links and bring them back a little bit, but I don't want to crowd everything in the front end. What I am concerned about is everything looking balanced. I want the front end to look balanced with the back end. I don't want there to be All right, so this is how big of a geek I am. I'm sitting in my other buggy so I can sit back and look at this thing and compare balance, kind of see what it looks like. I brought that rear axle in 2 inches, like I said. We're at full bump right now. The front end is actually about an inch, well, it's about a 1/2 inch higher than, or 3/4 of an inch higher than the rear, because I lost some bump bringing that rear axle in a little bit. When I shorten up that tail section, I'll gain that back again. But I'm just looking at it and just trying to see if it looks balanced. And I feel like the front end looks like it's pushed out a little bit. I'm not sure. At ride height, I feel like at ride height, if I measured everything correctly, I'm right at about 120.5 inch wheelbase. If I bring the rear end anymore, if I bring it in anymore and shorten up the rear links, I'm going to end up equalizing front and rear link. Right now, my lower fronts are at 38, my lower rears are at 41. And for that trailing arm setup, I'm not sure that I want to do that. I want those lower links to be longer. I can bring the front lowers in. I can bring the front end in a little bit, but I'm not sure I want to do that either. I'm just not sure if 120.5 is too long. I was really shooting for 119. At full bump, I'm at 119. Ride height, 120.5. So 2 or 3 hours later. You saw me monkeying around with this thing for quite a bit. I checked and double checked and triple checked. Wheelbase, I'm right at 119-ish, maybe a little bit over 119 at ride height. It's really hard to tell. The suspension cycle, the wheelbase changes from ride height at the table, in other words, with the links drooped out to where they're just topped out on the table, to full bump. The suspension, the cycle shortens the wheelbase by about 1.5 inches from there to bump. So somewhere around where the table meets the links, which over here, by the time you get to the end, represents a little bit lower. The hub being off the floor at about 19.25 is what ride height would be. And right there, at about that height, I'm at 119-ish wheelbase. So that's what I was shooting for. That's what I want. Now, I shortened up the rear links by about 3 inches. So what I need to do now is, you can see how much further forward this axle is in comparison to that bend on the tail section. And I'm gonna need to shorten all that up. The other thing I might do, and it just sort of depends on how this comes out geometry wise. What I feel like I'm gonna do is everything's just tacked in. So I'm just gonna cut these braces, cut that cross tube out, and cut this here at this same angle, and get my tail section brought in a little bit. That's the plan. That's what I think I need to do. This has cost me a day, but I think it's well worth it. Messing around, triple checking, double checking. Now I've got my suspension geometry up front the way I want it. I'm not messing with that. I kind of contemplated maybe bringing that axle back a little bit to shorten up wheelbase, but I don't think that's what I want to do. My bottom link now is at 40-inch. Making this a trailing arm. It's going to put my shock mount in here somewhere. Shock's going to be coming up in here. So I think where we're at right now with it, I think we're good to go. I don't know if I want to mess with this tail section until I get this chassis off the table. I kind of didn't want to do it anyway before. I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. So that's where I'm at, trying to correct that wheelbase. I was just taking a little bit at a time off these links to bring that axle in, and now I think I have it where I want it. So anyway, all right, here we go. gonna close this video out. I battled that tail section quite a bit. Measured twice, cut once. Well, it's more like cut 3 times, measured once. I don't know. It's been an afternoon. We'll just put it that way. I'm getting used to it. It doesn't look balanced to me now, to be honest. I might move that axle back. I don't know. I'm getting used to it. It looks a little bit cut off in the back. Well, we're gonna close this one out. I moved that rear axle forward another inch, and I'm not too sure. I don't know. It definitely looks different. I might have taken a little bit too much out of the wheelbase. I might move it back an inch. I don't know. We'll see.